Vox Box Star Wars Podcast, Episode 7. I fully support the integration of insect priests.
What is thy bidding, my master?
There is great disturbance in the force.
The Vox Box Star Wars Podcast, your source for Star Wars comics, news, and more. And now your host, Michael Corley.
Welcome to the 7th episode of the Vox Box Star Wars comic book podcast. I'm your host, Michael Corley. Thank you so much for listening today. We are covering the 7th comic in the original Marvel Comics series, and this comic is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because the first 6 comics were focused on A New Hope. They were completely focused on the movie itself. But this comic is the first of its kind, the first extended universe information about Star Wars. And we open right after the Battle of Yavin 4. We see Han Solo and Chewbacca are about to leave on the Millennium Falcon. Why? They need to pay off Jabba. As you may recall, there's an enormous bounty on Han Solo's head until he pays off Jabba. Luke and Leia are saying that they have to find a new rebel base. They're also saying that once Darth Vader establishes contact with the Empire, Yavin's system will no longer be safe. I thought that was a really good moment because it's definitely connecting Empire Strikes Back with the original Star Wars movie, because they are implying that they're going to have to go from world to world looking for a safe place from the Empire. This story, however, primarily focuses on Han Solo and Chewbacca, and as we see them heading off, a wonderful little moment. The narrator, Han Solo, says, though we've still got a few light years to go before we even cut to hyperspace. Now, I realize that the physics of Star Wars are largely made up, and just so that we can have space adventures with cowboys and pirates, but it's pretty consistent that hyperspace is where they go to go faster than the speed of light, so I'm not sure what he's talking about. But anyway, before they go to hyperspace, they see a derelict Empire ship, when suddenly ships come out of it and start attacking them. He realizes these are space pirates. He's able to hit one in the engine, but before he can get away and cut to hyperspace, the main ship captures him in a tractor beam. He's even saying, to be swallowed up by a Death Star is one thing, but space pirates! Han Solo is so angry. This ship, even though it is an Empire ship, has been captured by space pirates and reconfigured for doing exactly what they're doing to Han Solo. We find out that the leader of these space pirates is a red-bearded man named Crimson Jack, and his second-in-command is a purple-haired woman who likes to wear berets. Her name is Jolie. Now, Jolie wants to kill Han Solo and Chewbacca. As you might imagine, Chewbacca really wants to fight, but there's no point. I should point out that these pirates, they look like pirates. One of them is even wearing a red bandana and has a cutlass. But an interesting little side note, one of them is a deserter stormtrooper. He's got a dirty stormtrooper uniform on. I thought that was a nice little touch. Now, why don't these space pirates just kill Han Solo and Chewbacca? They could easily just shoot at them until they're dead. What Crimson Jack says, in his logic, is he's going to let Han Solo go after, of course, robbing him. And that way, if they find him again, they can rob him again later. I don't think that's the way pirates normally work, but sure, for this story, sure. Now, Han Solo and Chewbacca are left without a means of paying back Jabba. And you know what that means? It's time for
Dramatic reenactment.
Well, there it goes, Chewie. Without that treasure, Jabba will soon have a price on our heads that'll make us the target of every bounty hunter this side of Aquila. We got no choice now. We've got to lie low for a while on one of those rim worlds I was talking about. Jabba's reach won't be that long, maybe. Yeah, sure, I'm glad we're still alive too, I guess.
That wonderful reading of Han Solo was done by Pete. Pete, known as Pete the Retailer. He is one of the hosts of the Star Wars Minute. The Star Wars Minute analyzes the movies 1 minute at a time. Now, there are a lot of Star Wars podcasts out there, but I have to say, Star Wars Minute probably has the most unique concept of any podcast that I've ever had the pleasure of listening to. You can find them at starwarsminute.com. Thanks, Pete. So now we have the answer to a very basic question. We saw Han Solo getting paid in the first Star Wars movie. Why didn't he just pay off Jabba and then he wouldn't have a price on his head? This comic actually answers that, and I love stuff like that. We cut to Han Solo and Chewbacca after being robbed. They have been released and have headed to Aduba 3, a desolate planet that was part of a chromium rush. But it turned out to be a false alarm. While there was some chromium, there wasn't a lot, and so now many of the people who live on this planet are very poor. Han and Chewbacca are basically looking for work, and when they're heading towards the local cantina, they see a commotion going on. There's a bantha and something being dragged behind the bantha, and there's an insect-like gentleman who's being attacked by local villagers. The insect fellow, he's a yellow fellow with big bug eyes, has a purple robe on and a weapon that's pronged on two sides. He is some kind of priest. Han and Chewbacca see the villagers attacking this priest, and they decide to help out. They are able to fight off the villagers, make them back off slightly, and Han calls him a para. And the insect man says, "Yes, my fee." And the little note on the side says para means male parent and fee means male child. In other words, he's saying, "Are you all right, father?" And he's saying, "Yes, my son." He's a priest. He's a space priest. He's a insect space priest. Let's go with that. But the villagers are still angry. And Han is asking what's going on, and he explains that behind the bantha is a body. A man died, and this man was a cyborg. We can see that he is actually half of his body is cyborg. And the insect priest was taking him to be buried on Spacer's Hill, but the locals don't want him buried there because they don't like cyborgs. It is apparently a deep prejudice throughout the galaxy of people who have augmentation. Now, we can take two different takes on this. One, that this is from Darth Vader, who is clearly a cyborg. Even in the first film, it's clear that he's in some sort of augmented human. The second is from the scene in the original cantina, where the bartender says, "You're droids. We don't want their kind here." They may be extrapolating from that if they didn't like droids, that some people really don't like cyborgs. The insect priest is asking for Han and Chewbacca to help him take the body to Spacer's Hill to be buried and given a proper burial. Han is saying, "Look, we kind of helped you out. We kind of saved your life a minute." And the priest says, "Well, he did die with this sack of coins on him, and it would be only proper to give them to you if you help me." And Han Solo, who is now incredibly poor, has decided to help out. He gets on top of the bantha, Chewbacca walking alongside, and that is when the villagers regather and attack. First, they start by throwing rotten vegetables at Han Solo and Chewbacca and the insect priest, and then they actually drag Han Solo from the bantha and are beginning to attack. Now, Chewbacca, of course, is replying in kind, punching and kicking. Han Solo is thinking that he's trying not to actually hurt permanently any of these people, but one of the aliens comes at him with a Sikurdian battle axe, and he realizes that they intend to kill him. And he has no choice. He blasts him with a blaster. Chewbacca follows in kind, firing his bowcaster, and a wonderful side-by-side shot of the two fighting. And again, as I often mention, that we don't get narrators in the movies, but we do in comics. And this is a wonderful panel as they're fighting off these attacker, a Corellian-born mercenary who's been everything from a smuggler to virtually a space pirate himself. A 7-foot anthropod who hails from a world where violence is such an everyday occurrence that there are 15 separate words for it in the Wookiee vocabulary, and a warm-hearted priest of a species which does not even have a heart, as the humans understand the term. Together they fight side by side, then back to back in turns, their weapons making a bitter swath in the multicolored, very-shaped mass which swirls and ebbs around them. And in the end, they are able to fight off the villagers. Unfortunately, during the battle, a blaster fire that was meant for one of them hit the bantha, and the poor creature is dead. Now, how are they going to get a very heavy body that is half metal up to Spacer's Hill? Well, fortunately, they have a Wookiee with him, and though Chewbacca complains quite a bit about the weight, he is able to easily lift up this man in his glass coffin and take him up to Spacer's Hill. We see the insect priest doing the final ceremonies, and afterwards Han Solo is asking if there's a cantina nearby, because this is really thirsty work. We see Han Solo and Chewbacca, enjoying the local wildlife. We see them admiring many of the alien women who are in the bar. One of them he talks to is a blue-skinned woman with purple hair who seems very interested in him as well. Of course, he's Han Solo. What woman wouldn't be interested in him? The two are about to go off together. He turns to check to make sure Chewbacca is doing okay, and Chewbacca is surrounded by two, an orange and a yellow woman who seem very happy with his company. But before Han Solo can leave the bar with his new blue-skinned woman, he is approached by three local villagers. Now, this comic came out in the 1970s, and there still were some issues portraying various stereotypes. And these men are shown as very stereotypical Asian men. And clearly they are meant to be speaking in a particular way, and I'm not going to talk that way. But what they say is, "We have a proposition to put forth to you, honored off-worlder. It is a most agreeable proposal, we assure you, unless, of course, you have an unfortunate aversion to dying." And that ends Star Wars number 7. You are in for a treat, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine Han Solo in charge of a ragtag band trying to save the local villagers. In other words, imagine the Three Amigos, but in space. That's what we're about to get. If you'd like to see some of the panels from today, you can go to voxboxpodcast.com/episode 7. If you think you have what it takes to be a dramatic reader for the show, you can email me, MrCorley, Mr. Corley, @gmail.com, or visit our Patreon page at voxboxpodcast.com/Patreon. You have a wonderful day, and may the Force be with you.
No! You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
So be it, Jedi.
Thank you for listening to the Vox Box Star Wars podcast. Go to voxboxpodcast.com to see panels from today's comic. Have a great day, and may the Force be with you.